Okay, so tonight we're discussing the calendar of Yahuah. My name is Brother Justin, also known as Yashar, and I am from the tribe of Judah. All right, so to begin, these are some important points to note. The calendar of Yah is governed by the luminaries. These are the sun, the moon, and the stars as they move through heaven. The courses of the luminaries were shown to Enoch, Noah, Moses, David, Solomon, and Ezra, these prophets. And throughout the presentation, you will see the records showing that they had this knowledge. Now, these luminaries were created on the 4th day of the week. And at their creation was when they started on their course. So that initiated the calendar. You will also see that the sun is a great sign in the heavens, and which marks days, Sabbaths, months, feasts, years, Sabbaths of years, jubilees, and all the seasons of the year, right? The calendar is 364 days long, and this differs from the solar cycle or course, which is 365.25 days long. So let's begin with creation, Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the 4th day. So note, the lights in the heavens were created on the 4th day of the week. And they are signs for time. The greater light, which is the sun, rules over the day, and the lesser light, which is the moon, rules over the night. The stars also rule over the night. Now, when you look at verse 19, it says here, after this creation was done, there came to be evening. What happens after evening is the night. So the creation occurred during the daytime. So the day came before the night. So during the day, Yah created the sun, the moon, and the stars. And when he was finished, there came to be evening. And then there came to be morning the 4th day. So let's move on. Now, the prophet Moses was given a similar record. And he wrote what he was shown on Mount Sinai in the book of Jubilees, what is called Jubilees. So I'm looking at the book of Jubilees, chapter 2 and verse 8. And it says here, and on the fourth day, he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. So Yah appointing the sun to be a great sign for all of these different points in time tells us that we must note the movement of the sun to know when a day begins and when it ends, to know when there's the Sabbath, to know when a month begins, even to know the feasts which are recorded in Leviticus chapter 23. Yah gave us the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread and 6 other feasts, which are appointed times on his calendar in their seasons. The sun is also used to mark when the year begins. It also signals Sabbaths of years and jubilees and all seasons of the years. So if we use another light, right, to tell us when these things are, then there will be disorder in Yah's calendar. Continuing. Jubilees chapter 4 and verse 16. And in the 11th Jubilee, which was 512 to 518 AM, Jared took to himself a wife, and her name was Barakah, the daughter of Rasujal, a daughter of his father's brother, in the 4th week of this Jubilee, 522 AM. And she bare him a son in the 5th week, in the 4th year of the Jubilee. And he called his name Enoch, and he was the first among men that are born on earth who learnt writing and knowledge and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of heaven according to the order of their months in a book. So this book that he recorded this information is called the Book of Enoch. So he wrote down the signs of heaven according to the order of their months in a book, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. And he was the first to write a testimony, and he testified to the sons of men among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of the jubilees, and made known to them the days of the years, and set in order the months, and recounted the Sabbaths of the years, as we made them known to him. So it's the angels of heaven, led by Uriel, who showed Enoch these things so that he could record them. He was translated into heaven, and he saw the movement of the sun, the moon, and the stars. So we're going to the book of Enoch now. Sorry, let me finish off 2 more verses in Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 4, verse 21. And he was moreover with the angels of Elohim these 6 jubilees of years, and they showed him everything which is on earth and in the heavens, the rule of the sun, and he wrote down everything. Good. So the book of Enoch is separated into different sections, and we're going to chapter 72 in the book of the courses of the heavenly luminaries. Enoch chapter 72 and verse 1. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each, according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel, who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. Verse 2. And this is the law, this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. So the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. Verse 4. And first there goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and he's quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. So verse 4 is telling us that the sun is the first to rise in the east. It leads all the other luminaries. Everything else, the moon and the stars, come after the sun. So the sun sets the pace when it comes to time. So when the sun rises, that's the beginning of your day. Verse 7. And in that fourth portal, from which the sun rises in the first month, are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that fourth portal 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. So when the sun rises in the east at the beginning of the year, it rises in the fourth portal, and that first month it rises 30 mornings. So that first month is 30 days, and it sets in the west. Verse 9. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter, to the 30th morning. So the first month begins the first season of the year, which is spring. So that first month is 30 days, and each day gets gradually longer and longer and longer. So this is a picture showing how these months are broken down into their seasons. You have spring, the first month, 30 days. The middle of spring, the second month, 30 days. Your third month, late spring, also 30 days. Now, this third month will have an extra day to make it 31, as it transitions from spring into summer. So spring will have 91 days. Each month, 30, 30, 31. So it begins at the vernal equinox, right? Which is the beginning of spring. And it ends as it transitions at the summer solstice. Similarly, the summer has 91 days, 30, 30, 31. Then you have the autumnal equinox as it transitions from summer into autumn. Autumn season, no different, 3 months, 91 days, 30, 30, 31, ending with the winter solstice. And then for your winter season, same thing again, 91 days, 3 months, 30, 30, 31. So the total number of days in a year will number 364 days. Now, when you divide that by 7, you will get 52, which shows us that there will be 52 weeks in a calendar year. And of course, these numbers are written in the book of Jubilees as well as the book of Enoch. So turn into Enoch chapter 72, verse 31. And on that day, the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises in the third portal for 130 mornings and sets in the west of the heaven. On that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364. See that? So the last month of the year has 31 days, and the year totals 364 days. And the time between the day and the night is equal at the end of the year. So during summer, the days get longer and the night shorter until the day becomes twice as long as the night. Then during summer, the days start to get shorter and the nights longer until they're equalized again when autumn hits. Then during autumn, the nights get longer and the days get shorter until the night is twice as long as the day. That's winter now. And then winter, the nights get shorter and the days get longer until they are equal parts day, equal parts night. 364 days. Note this next verse, verse 33. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise. Through the course of the sun, these distinctions are made. So when it says, through the course of the sun, these distinctions are made, that literally means they are separated. So there's a separation between the lengthening of the day and the shortening of the night. So as you transition from the end of the year, 364 days, into the next year, there is a period of separation. What happens during that separation? The Most High Yah revealed it to David. Psalms chapter 19 and verse 1. The heavens are proclaiming the esteem of El, that is the Most High, and the expanse is declaring the work of his hand. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, and there are no words. Their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he set up a tent for the sun, and it is like a bridegroom coming out of his room. It rejoices like a strong man to run the path. Its rising is from one end of the heavens, and its circuit to the other end. And nothing or naught is hidden from its heat. So note some key words here. Yah set up a tent for the sun. A tent is something you enter for shelter and then you exit, right? And it says here, it is like a bridegroom coming out of his room, right? It rejoices like a strong man to run the path. So the sun has a path or a course that it travels through the heavens, right? The heavens, it says, is like a circumference, just like the sun. It is a sphere. And the sun goes through its course through the heavens like a cycle. At the end of that circuit or cycle or path, there is a tent or tabernacle. The sun enters in and then leaves. So the calendar or the path would take the 364 days, but when the sun enters into this tabernacle, it spends at least 1 day. So that makes up for that extra day or 2 days every leap year, which is every 4 years. So this picture screenshot is taken using a web app called Sterilium. And at the spring equinox, the sun literally crosses the equator or the east point. So this line E, right? This is 90 degrees. It's like a line in the heavens. And the scientists say when the sun touches that line, it is the spring equinox, right? So I drew this box here showing a tabernacle, right? Because the next day, and before I say that, south of this east line is the southern hemisphere, and north of this east line is the northern hemisphere. So there is a thick space the sun goes through, moving from one hemisphere into the next one, right? And the hemispheres are so different in terms of time. It is important to note. The northern hemisphere begins the spring season in the month of March. The southern hemisphere begins the spring equinox in September. So this particular section of the sky is like a buffer between seasons as well as time. So what is the vernal equinox? It's taken from Britannica.com. The vernal equinox are 2 moments in the year when the sun is exactly above the equator. So let me go back. You see this east line? This east line marks the equator. So the vernal equinox are 2 months in the year when the sun is exactly above the equator and day and night are of equal length. Just like what we read in the book of Enoch. Also, either of the 2 points in the sky where the ecliptic, the sun's annual pathway, and the celestial equator intersect. Now, I didn't show the ecliptic in this. Actually, it did. So the line here at an angle looks like 45 degrees. That is the ecliptic. That is actually the path the sun is moving. So where the ecliptic crossed the equator, right? It says here, is the vernal equinox. So there are 2 points in the sky where the ecliptic meet the equator. So that this is one of those intersections. In the northern hemisphere, the vernal equinox falls about March 20th or 21st. As the sun crosses the celestial equator going north, so this is the equator, this is the ecliptic. And in March 20, the spring equinox, the sun is moving towards the left because the left is towards the north, right? So the sun will go towards the north, and then when it gets northeast, it will turn and come back south until it comes back here for the autumn. And then it keeps going south until it gets southeast. Then it turns around and comes back here. So that is the course of the sun. So the sun crosses the celestial equator going north at the vernal equinox, March 20th or 21st. In the southern hemisphere, the equinox occurs on September 22nd or 23rd, when the sun moves south across the celestial equator. According to the astronomical definition of the seasons, the vernal equinox also marks the beginning of spring. Good. So we look to March 20th or 21st to know when there is a spring equinox. And then we know when the year begins, because then the next day will be the beginning of the year, right? Now this guy is OLAUDAH EQUIANO. He was an Igbo who was enslaved by the Europeans and taken to the Americas to be a slave. However, he was quite intelligent and he impressed his masters and learned to read and write. He learned to read the Bible and he started to write his life story. And in his narrative, his autobiography, I recount something that was very interesting to the topic because he spoke a lot about his early life before he was taken by the Europeans. So in chapter 1, section 29 on page 27, OLAUDAH EQUIANO writes, "We compute the year from the day on which the sun crosses the line." What line is he talking about? He's talking about that line in the heavens called the equator. This is in Africa. This is in the 1700s. OLAUDAH EQUIANO says, "We compute the year from the day on which the sun crosses the line, and on its setting that evening, there is a general shout throughout the land. At least I can speak from my own knowledge." So they mark the day on which the sun crosses the line. Let me go back. This line here, the equator. When the sun crosses the line, they begin the year. So the day that the sun is on the line, you do not count that day. It is the day when it crosses it. When it passes it, when it has left the tabernacle. And they celebrate the new year with this knowledge. So this goes on now, telling us that the solar year is 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, 46 seconds. Remember the Enoch calendar, the calendar of Yah has 364 days. So the solar year accounts for extra time. So there must be something that happens in the heavens to account for it. So that is the length of the solar year, and it's also called a tropical year or year of the seasons, which is the time between two successive occurrences of the vernal equinox, which is the moment when the sun apparently crosses the celestial equator moving north. So to summarize, the equinox date is the 365th day and is not counted on the calendar, nor does the leap day, the 366th day, count on the calendar every 4 years, because the sun is in his tent on those days, and that is the bridegroom's chamber. So this is a breakdown of the Enoch calendar again. It is divided into 4 seasons, 12 months. Each season has 91 days, and the months run 30, 30, 31 to give you 364 days. So we go back to Moses, Jubilees chapter 6, verse 27. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. Now, it says the new moon here, right? Of the 10th month. When you go into the definition of new moon in the Hebrew, you get Kodesh, right? Which means new month. Sure, the acronym will be made available to everyone. So the new moon of the 10th month begins the season of winter. Let me go back to the calendar again. You see, you have 4 points: vernal equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, winter solstice, right? These are the beginning of seasons. So the beginning of seasons is the new moon, the new month, the Kodesh. The first day, so the first day of the first month, Abib, is the new moon of the first month. Then the new moon of the 4th month begins summer. The new moon of the 7th month begins autumn. And the new moon of the 10th month begins winter. So Noah was glad when he saw the tops of the mountains on the new moon of the 10th month. And I will show you the Hebrew for new moon when I finish the slides. Continuing. And on this account, he ordained for them himself as feasts, as a memorial forever, and thus are they ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks. So let's do some mathematics again. 13 by 7 gives us 91. So the 13 weeks corresponds to a whole season. So each new moon has 13 weeks. So it does not correspond to the actual lunar phase called new moon. The lunar phase new moon occurs every 29.5 days. But the new moon that Noah and Moses were taught corresponds to the new moon of the seasons, which is the beginning of each season. And these had 13 weeks between them. So they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another, past their memorial, from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth. And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days. So remember, in Jubilees chapter 2, Yah said that the sun is a great sign in heaven for everything. Let me go back. Jubilees chapter 2, verse 9. And Yah appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. So for the seasons of the years, there are 4 seasons. Each season is separated by 13 weeks, and each of them has a new moon dividing them. So we depend on the sun to know that division, not the moon. Let's go back down. Jubilees chapter 6, verse 30. And all the days of the commandment will be 250 weeks of days, right? And these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. So this is how they calculate time in heaven. Is recorded on the heavenly tablets. Verse 32. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony. And they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged. And they will neglect their ordinances, and all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. So Yah is telling Moses, and he's telling Noah, that if we do not observe the year according to this order, make the year 364 days, before counting the 365th and 366th day, we will disturb everything concerning time, because we will forget the Sabbath day. We will forget the new moon, which begins the season. And we will forget when the year starts. And that is what has happened. That has happened to our people. And this is why everybody has a different date for every holy day and even every Sabbath. Because some will tell you the Sabbath is on Saturday. Some will tell you the Sabbath is on Sunday. Some will tell you the Sabbath changes every lunar cycle. Some will tell you the Sabbath is every Wednesday. The Most High does not lie. We have forgotten the Sabbath day. All right, so here I will entertain questions and discussion. Yeah, so how was my presentation? It was clear?
Presentation was great.
Praise Yah, hallelujah. Okay, so let me get, go ahead, you can ask your question.
It was clear. It was clear. But that's maybe the question is no, is how do we restitute this in a way that all people can actually have it so that we because everything um, to the point now where you have to say you're no longer saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Pushes you to the first, second, third, fifth, sixth day. And then the way how life for most people has been historically structured time, you know, uh, getting back there. How do we recoup this in a way that we all could visually see it, so you know it, and then how is life ordered after?
Okay, this is a very loaded question. Okay, so for starters, right, the days of the week are named after Roman gods. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Right? And this 7-day week was not always how the Romans would record time. They had an 8-day week before Julius Caesar came up with the Julian calendar, and then it was revised in 1582 by Pope Gregory. So number one, we have to tell our people that we are following a calendar given to us by the Gentiles, the Romans, right? And Yah is the one who is in control of time. When Yah created the heavens and the earth, he named them first day through to seventh day, right? Now, how you follow the actual time of Yah using the Enoch calendar, the 4th day of the week, right, which is the midst of the week, was actually when the calendar began. So 3 days after the 4th day in Genesis 1 was when Yah celebrated the Sabbath day. So when the calendar resets itself and you go into a new year, right? The calendar begins in the midst of the week, and 3 days later is the Sabbath day. And because the sun must go through its full course, right? Before you start the calendar, remember it has to go into the tabernacle. That first day, the first month, when you compare it to the Gregorian calendar day of the week, that will change. So that means that every 7 years, you will have Sabbath on Saturday, right? 1 out of 7, it will be Saturday. The next year, it could be Sunday. The next year, it will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So trying to follow the Gregorian calendar and keep the Sabbath day on one particular day of the week means that you would not be in line with Yah and in heaven solely by trying to follow the Enoch calendar. The two calendars do not agree. So I actually have a printout, right? Let me show you what it looks like. Okay. So this is my printout of the Enoch calendar. The 4th day of the week is when the equinox is, right? The midst of the week. So that day is not counted. So the first day, the first month, will be the 5th day. Second day, the 6th. And then the 3rd day is Shabbat, rest. Right? So you're always checking in terms of the new year. You're always checking when the sun, right, crosses the equator for that vernal equinox. And you know that the next day is your new year, your first day. So with the Enoch calendar, then you can know when your Shabbat is, right? And knowing when Shabbat is, you also know when Passover is. Passover is in the midst of the week. Passover is never on Shabbat. And in the scripture, Matthew chapter 26, when Yahushua HaMashiach, right, he celebrated Passover with his disciples. He spent 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the earth, and he rose at the end of Shabbat. However, the chief priests and the scribes had a different calendar, right? So they were not in line with him, showing you that the children of Israel did forget when the Sabbath was. If we have enough time, we could probably go through it. But I just want to show you this calendar, and then I wanted to give the definition for new moon. So this is the first month, which is called Abib, and that's recorded in book of Deuteronomy chapter 16. And I can take you there as well. So Rishon Kodesh means the first month, right? So you have Passover the 14th day, and then 7 days of unleavened bread. So you have the second month, Shani Kodesh. Third month, Shalishi Kodesh. And Pentecost, which is another holy day, is reckoned 7 Sabbaths after Passover. I mean, where you wave the sheaf and then you count the 50th day, right? So you have Pentecost or Shavuot in the 3rd month. The 4th month, Rebbe'i Kodesh, is when summer begins. The 5th month, Kamishi Kodesh. The 6th month, Shishi Kodesh. And the 7th month, Shibi Kodesh. The first day of the 7th month is Yom Teruah, or Memorial Blowing of Trumpets, which is also the new moon of the 7th month. You have the Day of Atonement on the 10th day, Shabbat. And then you have Sukkot for 7 days. And then the 8th day you have Ingathering, Feast of Ingathering. The 8th month, Shemi Kodesh. The 9th month, Tisha Kodesh. And in this month is the Feast of Dedication. That's in the book of Maccabees. The 10th month is Siri Kadesh. Here you have the new moon of the 10th month to begin winter. The 11th month, Ashti Kadesh. And the 12th month of Adar, Shneim Kadesh. And you have Purim, the Feast of Lots, in this month. All right. So every Hebrew can have a record of this and follow Yah's calendar on their own. Now, so I'm taking you to Psalm chapter 81. Psalm chapter 81, starting from verse 3. It says here, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the Elohim of Jacob, right? The new moon here is Kadesh. And in the book of Jubilees, it says that there are 4 new moons, each one signaling the beginning of a season. So that was when they blew the shofar, and that was a feast day. Now, the book of Jubilees has some more information concerning why Israel fell off. So I can share that with you, as it is very important as well. Jubilees chapter 6. Okay. Zoom in some more. Jubilees chapter 6, starting from verse 34. And all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it is not of my own devising. For the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months, and Sabbaths, and feasts, and jubilees. See that? So by lunar observation, the nation of Israel goes very deep into error. And this goes as far back as the priesthood. The Sadducees were in control of the temple post-Babylon. Remember, Israel was taken into captivity into Babylon for 70 years. And it was in Babylon that they were exposed to the Babylonian lunar calendar. And this is documented information because the Pharisees and the Sadducees were the ones who have a lunisolar calendar. In fact, let me show you the information. First, I will go here. This is a screenshot I took of the Jewish virtual library, right? You have the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and the Essenes. The Sadducees' social class was priests and aristocrats, right? They followed a lunisolar calendar. The lunisolar calendar is one where the month, right, is determined by the slither of the new moon. So the moon is dark, and then you look for when the slither appears in the evening, right? And they count the evening as the beginning of the day. So that's 2 errors. The Pharisees had a similar lunar calendar. They didn't watch the slither though, but they marked it by the dark moon, which is the new moon according to scientists today. The Essenes have a solar calendar, right, which they observed. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls may or may not have been written by the Essenes. However, it is amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls that you have evidence of the Enoch calendar. And the people who were recording the Enoch calendar also recorded the time for the lunisolar calendar kept by the Pharisees and Sadducees because they wanted to keep track of time. And it seemed as though they were priests because they would want to get back into authority and reset the order of things. So they had the Enoch calendar recorded alongside the lunisolar calendar to keep record of time. And they also recorded the names of the priestly families which were operating in the temple every single week. So tell me, is this by mistake? I think not. So let's see here. Right. So the same Jewish virtual library tells us the most important of the 3 were the Pharisees because they are the spiritual fathers of modern Judaism. So the Jewish people are the sons of the Pharisees, right? In terms of doctrine. We already know that they are not related to the children of Israel by blood. Their main distinguishing characteristic was a belief in an oral law that Elohim gave to Moses at Sinai with the Torah. The Torah, or written law, was akin to the US Constitution in the sense that it set down a series of laws that were open to interpretation. The Pharisees believed that Yah also gave Moses the knowledge of what these laws meant and how they should be applied. This oral tradition was codified and written down roughly 3 centuries later in what is known as the Talmud. See that? So, according to the Pharisee doctrine, the written law, the Torah, was not enough. They had to write a commentary as an explanation for the Torah. This Talmud is the Babylonian Talmud, and it is very corrupt and perverse. Moving on. Let's talk about the Sadducees. The Sadducees were elitists who wanted to maintain the priestly caste, but they were also liberal in their willingness to incorporate Hellenism into their lives, something the Pharisees opposed. So the Sadducees were those Israelites in the book of Maccabees who incorporated Hellenism and were instrumental in allowing the setup of those abominations in the temple. Remember when the Greeks came in and sacrificed swine's flesh on the altar? So the Sadducees continue with this Hellenism they inherit from the Greeks. They rejected the idea of the oral law and insisted on a literal interpretation of the written law. Consequently, they did not believe in an afterlife, since it is not mentioned in the Torah. The focus of Sadducee life was rituals associated with the temple. The Sadducees disappeared around 70 AD after the destruction of the Second Temple. None of the writings of the Sadducees has survived, so the little we know about them comes from their Pharisaic opponents. These two parties served in the Great Sanhedrin, a kind of Jewish Supreme Court made up of 71 members whose responsibility was to interpret civil and religious laws. So Yahushua was constantly in contention with these two groups. They are the ones, right, who spearheaded his crucifixion. And they're the ones who continue the corruption amongst our people. So the calendar is one of these corruptions. All right. Anything anyone like to ask? Any questions? Any comments? I'm not hearing you clearly, Brother Barnabas.
No, I just wanted to find out. So when you said, I just want to get my mind around it. So when the year, like you said, is it the 20th of March?
The
Is the
20th.
beginning of the year?
Okay, so the 20th of March will mark the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, right?
Mhm.
So that will tell you that the sun has ended its course, and then the next day, right? If it's not leap year, the next day will begin your year.
Okay, so that should be so the counting should start on that day as day 1.
No, you wouldn't count the equinox day. You will count the following day.
The following day, okay, the following day will be the day 1. So when you come to the 7th day, normally you are saying, that's why you are saying it could fall on a Wednesday, it could fall on any other day, and that
Exactly.
should be the Sabbath.
Right. So day 1 would be the day after the equinox, right?
Hmm.
But day 3 would be Shabbat.
Day 3 will be Shabbat.
Yeah, because the equinox date is the 4th day of the week according to creation.
Okay.
So 3 days
Oh.
later will be Shabbat.
Monday, Thursday. Yeah, it's so interesting because I know that I have to I was I always wondered why in back in Zimbabwe the day of rest was on a Thursday, and I don't know why. So I'm asking a question which I don't really have enough information, but it's just that it always wanted to know why they rested on Thursday. It is a day of rest. So, and they used to call that their Sabbath. And I always wondered why was it a midweek? So this might just answer that question, what you have just mentioned there.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why. Yeah, because I always wondered why they said on this day is the Sabbath, and it doesn't fall on in the days which we call Sabbath. So maybe that does answer the question why.
Right. Okay.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay, so let me show you the calendar, right? The equinox date this year is March 20th, which is a Sunday, right? So on this app, Sterilium, I can turn to March 20th, and at sunrise, you see the sun here as it cuts the equator directly east, right? This is the equinox date, March 20th, Sunday. So so you look at the sunrise when you are counting the equinox, when you're looking at the equinox day. The following day, right? When the sun rises, it is north of the equator. It doesn't cut it. So the Monday is the first day of the first month. All right. So the 22nd will be the second day. And then the 23rd will be the third day. So the 23rd of March will be our first Shabbat. So let me count back again. March 20th, sunrise is equinox date. March 21st, the first day of the first month Abib. March 22nd, the second day of the first month. The 23rd, the third day of the first month. So on and so forth. And for those who may have wanted to see the name of the first month, you can go to Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 1. It says, Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God, Yahuah thy Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Yahuah thy Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. So this month, we celebrated Passover by night, was commanded to be the beginning of months. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 1. And Yahuah spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month, they shall take them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. So then it goes on to the instructions for the Passover. And Leviticus 23 is the chapter you go to know the different holy days and feasts, right? And Yahuah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yahuah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, or holy gatherings, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahuah in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of Yahuah, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. So it lists Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, so on and so forth in this chapter. Anyone else have questions like to ask? Okay. Would everyone like to get a copy of the calendar of Enoch and calendar of Yah?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Empty. Yes, please. I will lick it one.
Okay. Let me see if I can put it here in the chat. Okay, so it's there available. Does anyone want the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch as well? Okay.
I will, please.
All right, so let me put it there for you.
Justin,
Yes, sir.
the book of Enoch you're using, how much of Enoch are you using?
Okay, so the book of Enoch that I have here is the one translated by R.H. Charles, and it includes the book of Noah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is
So this is
that
the first. This is the first book of Enoch.
right. Okay,
It's
cool.
not.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not Enoch 2 and Enoch 3. Those are different.
Yeah. Yeah, because Enoch 2, Enoch 3 are not Torah.